But this brings me to our next story, one of the most shocking and devastating follow-ups to the January 6th moment, January 6th riots. Now, this one is, as many of you know, an insurrection took place at the Capitol.
Yeah.
People were trying to insurrect against this government in support of Donald Trump. But since then, we've had another moment that was also as bad. CNN reports Joe Rogan's use of the N-word is another January 6th moment. That's right. Joe Rogan, over 10 years, doing a show in which he said a word in context of referencing other people and comedy specials, is as bad as the storming of the Capitol.
I still don't know what N-word they're talking about.
As the resident N-word, I will say that neither are that bad. Lydia's cracking up. I gotta say, neither are that bad, but I have to say that on the scale of things, the Rogan N-word thing is like way down here.
Yeah. I'll tell you what this is, just very simply put. Someone at CNN was like, hey, look, we looked at the metrics. Joe Rogan's getting a lot of hits, and so is January 6th. Can we put those together? And so they did. And it makes literally no sense. It would be like if someone said, Whoopi Goldberg's comments on The View are the next Bernie Madoff moment. And then just writing, while she didn't try and steal money from powerful individuals, the things she said shows how power in this country. And you're like, wait, hold on a minute. You're just taking two things and saying them at the same time. In no way are they in any way related, any way comparable.
Yeah.
But you're hoping it gets traffic.
Oh, I just found out that they changed the title.
They did change the title.
Okay, so
yeah.
What's the new title?
The new title, I believe this is it. Why shrugging off Joe Rogan's use of the N-word is so dangerous. It's not even a sentence. It's a sentence fragment. So they posted the original story. They got massive amounts of heat about what an idiotic statement.
Yeah.
And then within 24 hours.
Did they omit January 6th from the article, or that part is still in there?
It's still in it. Same article.
Is it the same guy? The same analysis by John?
Blake? Yeah. Sure is, so it's the same article. If you take the original, it's got a different photo.
Yeah.
And it says January 6th moment. They say, what Rogan and those that defend him have done since video clips of him using the N-word surface on social media is arguably just as dangerous as what a mob did when they stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th last year. The same paragraph is right here. Yo, I'm sorry. This is one of the most psychotic things. This is the ramblings of an incoherent madman behind a 7-Eleven at 2 a.m. And he's sputtering and spitting on himself. It's the kind of thing you hear when you're at a bar until 3 a.m. and you're in New York City and you walk outside and there's some crazy guy walking down the street in a dirty green coat with like a striped, muddy, ripped shirt and a crazy beard and white poofy hair. And he's going, Joe Rogan, he said N-word. It's like January 6th. And you're like, whoa, calm down there, old man. This is getting a little out of control.
It feels like
when I read articles, very vivid picture you just painted. I'm not gonna lie. That was
so specific.
I read articles when they use this language, like stopped him from using the N-word and using the N-word.
No one died
I'm like,
trying to stop him.
It makes me feel like this guy's playing with G.I. Joes, and it's the drama is in the little G.I. Joe action that he's doing. Like that's the drama. It's not real life.
Stop him!
Yeah, make him stop. That's exactly what it's like. But then I got to accept that it's on CNN and people are reading this and thinking it's real or normal.
Come on. If this isn't, if this doesn't wake somebody up, I think they're beyond help.
They kind of just
hold
subtly
on.
change that title as there's no
right. But look, you can take this. Here's my tip to all of you at home. Google search the story, why shrugging off Joe Rogan's use of the N-word is so dangerous. Copy the URL up top. Go to archive.is.
Yes.
And you can then paste that in and look at the first version of the article, which shows you the original archived. You can also take a look at, we have here at the top of the screen, archive.fo/capital T, lowercase e, capital Z, lowercase y, capital X. That is the direct link to this story. And just show your naysayer friends, show your parents and your family members who don't believe you when you say the media is lying to them, and just ask them to reconcile this and explain to you what it means. And if they still believe and trust CNN and defend them in any way, you can just hug them and say, sorry. I'm so sorry.
So the third paragraph is actually throwing me for the biggest loop.
Yeah,
saying the concept of white people not saying the N-word has held America together since World War II. I hate to break it to you guys, people still say it. They're always going to say it. There's no law against saying it. And World War II seems so arbitrary. Like, Jim Crow still existed during World War II. Like, what are they even saying? What are they talking about? Why'd they pick that?
It's held America together. It's like if you were in Finland and they were like, well, you know, what keeps America together? Well, when I think about it, what keeps America together is that white people don't say
They were storming the beaches of Normandy to keep Joe Rogan from saying the N-word.
I did a Control F search on this article, and the phrase N-word appears 30 times in this article. Talk about propaganda.
What is this? It's look. I kid you not. Somebody just said, I want to get the algorithm boost. I'm not kidding. I would be willing to bet a large sum of money that this guy who wrote this, John Blake, was sitting in his room and he's like bouncing his pen and he's like, I want to get a million hits. What can I do? What can I do? He's like, Google search. He goes to Google Trends. He looks at the top 10 phrases and he sees Joe Rogan, January 6th, and he goes, yeah, all right, let's write that one down. And that's what he did. I'd be willing to bet that's what he did.
I saw the screenshot of this headline earlier without the link, so I didn't know it was from CNN. I literally assumed it was either The Onion or Babylon Bee. Yeah. And I laughed at it. I thought it was satire. And this is me live finding out that it's on CNN.
What is up with white and black being capitalized all of a sudden?
So black is now normally capitalized as.
But now look at white is also capitalized.
So weird, right?
Yeah, by this guy it is.
At first, I think it was only black that was capitalized.
Yeah.
Because the references to the politics and ideology.
So they're not even talking about color anymore?
No,
or shade or
but
whatever.
Here's what I want to point out too, because we did mention this a little bit. It says publicly use. All right, let's play a game. We're going to do a spelling bee real quick.
Oh, God.
All right, Daniel.
Don't ask me to say anything I don't want to say.
Ask me to spell a word.
I can choose the word?
No. Yes.
Tim, spell the word banana.
Banana. Can you use banana in a sentence?
I would like to eat a banana.
All right. It's a noun. You are referencing that in the sentence. Now, I'm going to ask you to spell the word, and I want you to ask me to use the word in definition. All right?
Okay.
All right. Your word is oikonomia.
Oikonomia. Could you use it in a sentence, please?
Tim Pool said the word oikonomia. That in no way used the word. It referenced the word. I'll tell you this. Let's try again. Your word is there.
There. Could you use it in a sentence?
Tim Pool said the word there. Now spell it.
Yes. THEY apostrophe RE.
Oh, nope, it's the other one.
Of course.
The reason you use it, the reason why using a word is different from saying a word is that when you're trying to spell it and figure out what the word is, making a sentence where it's like Tim Pool said the word there does not tell you which there it is.
Yeah.
So Joe Rogan never used the word. To use it in a context of which is to insult or deride someone, he said the word in reference to other people. They purposefully do this to prey on weak minds and the ignorant, to smear their political opponents, to make money, to generate outrage. And in no way is it true. It was never true. And I gotta say, I think Joe needs to sue CNN.
Yes.
I really, really do. Because when they said Joe's...
Nick Sandman, take a page out of his book.
Well, hold on. This is a factual question. Yeah. And I think it needs to be expressed. So long as everyone keeps accepting that saying a word equals using it, go before a judge and then ask the judge. And I want the judge to answer, okay? It's that simple. So Joe could file a suit. He doesn't have to do this. I get it, but I wish someone would. And he can say to the judge, your answer here will set a standard, a cultural precedent. Is saying a word the same as using the word? And if the judge says, we think CNN's description of what you did is correct, thank you. You've now defined it, and everyone knows the courts believe that saying a word means using the word. But I'd be willing to bet, based on my spelling bee argument, a judge would probably be like, yeah, there's a difference between saying a word and using it.
Yeah.
Until someone sues for defamation, gets that clarification. Now, I do love, we had this conversation before about, Joe Rogan and other issues like this. And the left then claims Tim Pool, does a show where he demands the right to use the N-word and things like that.
Well,
and that's the game
next.
they play.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think nobody should use the N-word. Never.
No. Well, one of the things also going back to what we were talking about earlier on the podcast is and the media as a whole, and how I think they're responsible for a lot of the frustration and animosity and anger that's brewing in the country. And you were saying how they'll never be held accountable for what they have put out, or they'll never make mistake, apologize. Changing the headline is a precedent that has only come about because of the internet. Because before, if they wrote it in Time Magazine, like the famous Time Magazine, Madam President with Hillary Clinton, that they published too quickly, right? It lives in perpetuity. But the New York Times has been found often going back to articles 5 months old, 5 years old, and subtly making changes. Now, if you have the print version, you know it, or this website that has the archived version.
Yep.
But they don't have to stand by their reporting, because even in real time, if the tide turns against it, they can just change the headline. And that's not reporting now. Now you're doing opinion journalism. If you really believe his use of the N-word was like January 6th, then make that headline and, damn it, stand by it. Yeah, and argue your case, but to say like, oh, that was stupid, let me rephrase
this
it.
This practice of changing the headline is more dangerous than Joe Rogan saying the N-word.
Well said.
Absolutely more dangerous.
Absolutely. Well said.
So here's my pitch. The CNN article where they accused Joe Rogan of using the N-word and comparing it to January 6th is another January 6th moment.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
I like that take.
Yeah.
That's tight.
It's now they may not have died doing it,
But just
but
dangerous.
it is very dangerous to
Yes.
our democracy.
The Young Turks tomorrow. Tim Pool's podcast saying that Joe Rogan's use of the N-word was not a January 6th moment is a January 6th moment.
All right. let me play a game.
And it's going to go on and on and on and on.
Let me play a game with you guys. I'm going to read you this article from CNN. Cenk Uyghur's use of the N-word is another January 6th moment. The TV show host, Cenk Uyghur, did not join a mob that forced lawmakers to flee for their lives. He never carried a Confederate flag inside the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. No one died trying to stop him from using the N-word. But what Anna Kasparian, another host on the show, and those that defend her have done since video clips of her using the N-word surface on social media is arguably just as dangerous as what a mob did when they stormed the U.S. Capitol. Hassan Piker breached a civic norm that has been held America together since World War II. It's an unspoken agreement that we would never return to the kind of country we used to be. That agreement revolved around the simple rule: a white person would never be able to publicly use the N-word again and not pay a price. Hassan has said it. Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uyghur have both said it in the exact same context as Joe.
Yep.
The use of the word descriptively, referencing someone's body of work, statements made by another person. And the funny thing is, when people brought up the Young Turks, Anna said, oh, it was all taken out of context. And I'm like, Anna's right. And it should not be held against her. I think the Young Turks should not be criticized for criticizing other people. Papa John was criticizing Colonel Sanders, and they destroyed his life over this. It's selective. The point is, CNN writes the article about Joe Rogan, even though in the exact same context they could have written about the Young Turks. People are defending them. Oh, but they're on the top. They're on the right side of the political hierarchy. So the media is on their side. Yeah,
and that's the other form of media bias, which is more prevalent and more pernicious, is the media bias by omission. So they just won't write that piece on the Young Turks. Just like today, the Today Show will just not talk about the Durham case. They'll just ignore it, pretend it didn't happen, and they'll talk us about something else.
They didn't write anything about any of this with Joe until Robert Malone was on the show, basically. Peter McCullough and Robert Malone.
Right. I mean, the reason why people didn't freak out about these episodes where he used the N-word at the time is because people watched the full episode and they got the context. This Midas Touch or Patriot Takes compilation is making people freak out who don't watch the show, who have never seen the show, who don't understand the context that he was using it in. And it's insane. To your point, they omit and ignore several members of the media that have done way worse than this. I mean, it's Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Howard Stern. They've all done blackface, like literal blatant blackface. And I'm not saying I'm sitting here calling for them to be canceled or for them to write me a personal apology. I'm just saying they're ignoring people based on which side of the aisle they're on.
Justin Trudeau wore a blackface on more times than he can remember.
Yeah, what?
No,
blackface, brown face, every type
He
of
said he
face.
couldn't remember.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how many times he's done it.
It looked like he was in a play.
He was performing in brown face, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he had like that turban on or something.
And Northam. Ralph Northam.
Yep.
You know,
Well, he didn't even. I don't think he admitted if he was the Klan member or the blackface.
He wasn't in.
I think the blackface is a little bit
Yeah.
better. I think he implied that was him, but he
Yeah.
never admitted which
were
But
you,
we're
the
not
Klan member or
sure.
the guy in blackface?
Were you the guy in the hood or the guy that's like, I'm the governor, I
so
shouldn't
bad.
be? Yeah. Oh, good Lord.
That was funny. It
Like,
was
were you
like,
the Klan member or were you just buddies with the Klan member?
well, no, but it's like that question, like, when did you stop beating your wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
The implication is you did.
Yeah.
So it's like you got a photo of Ralph Northam. He's either the guy in blackface or the Klan hood, and neither is going to be good
choices.
for
we
him.
could do that skit where you're like, when did you stop beating your wife? And he's like, I didn't. You didn't stop?
didn't
And then they
stop.
take it as you didn't stop.
Yeah.
That is actually good. I did. What are you talking about? Wow. And then, the
Never
governor
stopped.
did not stop beating wife. That's how the media plays it. They know they do it. Let me tell you a story. There's this guy who would write for the Boston Globe. And this was back in, I think it was like 2018. Do you guys remember the based stick man?
Yeah.
Yes.
So at the battle, do you know about this based stick man?
Nope.
No. So the Battle of Berkeley. This is when they were doing the free speech rallies at the Berkeley Park in California. And Antifa showed up and was fighting. They beat up a bunch of Trump supporters. So the Trump supporters came back and this guy showed up wearing a helmet, goggles, and I think he had a shield, right? Like a shield and a stick.
Yeah.
And then when Antifa attacked, he cracked the stick over an Antifa person's head, shattering it. And the video went viral and everyone called him the based stick man. And this writer, this journalist I've known for a long time, called him a white nationalist. And so I was like, well, that's weird. He was in a mixed race marriage or something like that. And he had a mixed race kid. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a white nationalist to me. It sounds like kind of the opposite. But he was a nationalist. And so I reached out to this journalist because I knew him and I said, hey, why did you say this guy was a white nationalist? And he goes, because he is. And I was like, he's not. He's a nationalist, but he's in a mixed race family. And then he goes, is he white? And I went, yeah. And he goes, is he a nationalist? And I said, yes. And he
There
goes,
you go.
he's a white nationalist. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what that phrase means. He was trying to imply that it was a factually true statement because he meant he was a white-skinned nationalist person and not a person who believes in a country for white people, what white nationalist actually means. And that's the dirty game they play. Why? If you were to sue him, he would win because he would say, Your Honor, he is a nationalist and he is white.
Yep.
And it's not my fault people interpreted it the wrong way. I was referring to him being a white man at this park and being a nationalist. That's what it meant. And the judge can then say, I don't believe you. And then he can appeal and be like, you don't get to say what my intentions were. The phrase is factually true. Now, a judge might be like, get out of here. We know what that means. That's reckless. How dare you? But with the Times v. Sullivan, he could argue this guy is a prominent public figure who's got a social media following. And what I said about him was true, and it was not intentional to have it and they win.
Yeah.
Like the Sarah Palin thing got tossed out by
Yeah.
a judge.
Actual malice.
Because of the insane standard that we have today for defamation, that you have to prove they were knowingly lying or acting recklessly, and recklessly means they were not upholding their own standards in their presentation of information. So if CNN has no standards, you can never sue them for defamation. No, for real.
And they clearly don't have standards.
I have standards for CNN. Does that mean anything?
No.
It should mean something.
If CNN doesn't
Collectively-
fact check, they can say whatever they want and say, Your Honor, this is our normal process. We believed it was true. And then the judge can be, you can argue, but they didn't do any fact checking. And they're say, Your Honor, we don't do fact checking. We hear rumors, we publish them. That's what we do.
Rachel Maddow.
And the judge might be like, well, that's reckless. Or he might be like, you're entitled to your opinion and to publish what you think.
It feels like kids are fighting. And I'm like, okay, they're fighting about this word in this language. When I'm like, we got asteroids bombarding the planet. The power could go out at any minute. The land could flood. We have real problems. And this is just, but it's like watching kids fight. And then I'm reminded the kids are in control of the military. Like everyone's listening to the kids.
Right.
And the kids get to decide which direction the nukes point.
Yep.
They can't pick something worse to compare it to either. It's like January 6th. That's the worst thing ever. That's what we're worried about. That's the worst thing ever is January 6th. There's so much bad crap happening.
Like the firebombing in Philadelphia.
That was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What was
the
that?
move bombing. You
Oh,
looked it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, there's the bombing of the Tulsa bombing. Like, yo, if you want to talk about bad things happening in American history, our history is rife with really awful things.
Yeah. And Tim, didn't they do a survey of like the average voter and everyone's like, January 6th, what is that? I am not familiar with
No,
that
I think they did. There was a bunch of like panels and polls that found
Oh,
people
yeah.
knew what it was but didn't care.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't understand how this impacts my life.
Right.
But and you raised such a good point, Ian, in that, and we do have real problems. Like there are real, like if you ever wanted to get truly depressed, when you sit down and think of some of the major problems facing the country, the world, like there are some really big, heavy structural problems. But we're fighting about, you know, if Joe Rogan and we're still we're playing these little tiny games, and you begin to wonder, is it an intentional?
No,
It's because Joe Rogan makes you think about the real problems going on in the world,
Yeah.
and that's why they
And
attack him.
People, I think, don't know the solutions, so they are panicking, and now they're just focusing on what they're able to understand, which is this base stuff, this basic crap like racism and stuff.
And I think that's what Justin Trudeau is doing. And when you panic in that sense and you have power, you exert it the wrong way. I think Justin Trudeau is in panic mode, and he's like the little hall monitor, right? And
I think there's a good bipartisan like sitcom that can be put together if you just play the jokes right. Like I'm imagining, you know, we're talking about whether people care about this. You've got like Nancy Pelosi, and she's in like a what are those things called where they bring in a bunch of people and ask them about their products? Focus group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
She's like looking at a focus group, and there's like a bunch of people, and she's like, now, you know, we would like you to vote for us. And does her pitch, and she goes, now, January 6th, I'm sure you're all very worried about this. And a guy goes, I need insulin. And she's like, yeah, but January 6th. And it's like, EpiPens cost $1,000. Like, there are things the left and the right are both angry about.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, but January
And then someone's
6th.
kid's like, I'm hungry. That's there with the mom.
And then she goes, shut up!
Shut up, January 6th.
January 6th. It's actually like that Family Guy joke where Lois is like 9/11, and then everyone claps. And then, you know, they're like, but what about healthcare? And she goes, 9/11. I'll start clapping.
Yeah.
It's funny how Seth MacFarlane wrote that joke, but now Seth MacFarlane is on the side of the despotic, insane people.
Classic.
Yeah.
It's insane.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right?
Yep.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.